how do we come back to these, 18 to 24-year-old males and re-ingratiate our brand with them?
Yep.
Back in the heyday, the thing to do was just have every kid at a GNC counter talking about BPI. Nowadays it's a little bit more through a direct-to-consumer model. You have to leverage your website and your social.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Supp Talk Radio. Today, I am joined by a father, a husband, a supplement, I'm going to say connoisseur, because I've seen your videos, the way you break things down. And he's been part of one of the largest supplement companies of the late 2000s to now. Let me introduce, after 15 years with the company, let me introduce Chris McKenzie, CEO of BPI. Chris, welcome to the show.
Sean, thanks. Big fan. And I'm very grateful that you had us on and given our brand a little attention. So thank you.
Definitely. So Chris, let's address the monkey in the room here, or the elephant in the room. Last year, you kind of shocked the world. The company declared bankruptcy. Can we talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, totally. Happy to talk about it.
So let's kind of, what brought that on? What was the genesis? Because it seemed like you guys were doing well, and obviously something went awry.
No, definitely. So that's just like one of the many chapters in the book of BPI. I mean, we have been around for 16 years, and with the exception of really Cellucor and Muscle Tech, pardon me for blurring the names together, really endured more market changes than just about any brand. We, as a company, we've been privately owned since our inception. We do have a new ownership now, and that's going to be at the end of this little soliloquy I'm going to give you.
Okay.
But we did enter 2023 with the same ownership that we had that we launched with. And I should add, the previous owner of BPI is a good friend of mine. He and I have spent 20 years of our lives in the supplement industry fighting side by side. And it's been a blessing to be his friend and work with his company. So there's zero bad vibe to previous administrations. That's not the moral of this story. The moral of the story is just, growth, contraction, regrowth, changes in product assortment. It just had the company a little bit upside down. And there's, a couple ways you can attack that. But one of the ways that we found was to look for some Chapter 11 support on a bankruptcy. I'm no lawyer, and I don't want to sound smarter than I am, but I did learn a lot. One of the most interesting thing I learned, not to do with supplements, but you hear phrases in bankruptcy, Chapter 11, Chapter 7. There's an actual law book about bankruptcy. And when they talk about Chapter 11, they're talking about the type of bankruptcy written in the 11th chapter of the bankruptcy book. So I didn't know that it was quite that literal of a translation to the lawyers, but it is. So basically, we just had a little bit more debt than we're able to chop down fast. So the Chapter 11 protection helps us. And the real silver lining to it is our material manufacturer, High Tech Pharmaceutical, was able to come in and work with the dead and work with the previous ownership and take an ownership stake in the business while putting together a very sweet and that's what I'm looking for, beyond fair bankruptcy settlement, which the Florida courts absolutely loved. So remaining creditors were given way more than standard bankruptcy requires to be given. And BPI's bankruptcy was actually, and this is where I definitely don't know what I'm talking about. We were the first Chapter 11 Subchapter 5 pre-pack bankruptcy in Florida history to go through in 30 days. So basically what it means is, we put together our lawyer and obviously High Tech Pharmaceuticals, brilliant people, put together a plan that was so solid, fair, and bulletproof that the court said, honestly, this shit is wonderful. Not quote unquote, but that's what they said. This is great. This is fair. You guys have a great plan. You're going to keep, the majority of your employees. You're going to keep the majority of your customers. The company will come out whole. And to the credit of the guys over there, we are whole. We're here, and we're running still as an independent supplement company with them as our parent. But, BPI is still a Florida corporation. We're still down here in Broward County where we've always been. We did change to a new office space because we moved our warehousing in with the manufacturing with high tech, because there's no reason to make it there, ship it here if they
Sure.
own us. So worked great. But one thing you'll probably hear a lot. I cannot say enough good things about that relationship, those people, what they've done for our business, and even more than anything, what it opens up for BPI moving forward. So sitting here healthy and ready to rock and ready to get this thing back on the rails.
So Chris, if I could be intrusive, would they your manufacturer prior to this regardless?
They were our manufacturer. They were not
Okay.
our only manufacturer, because obviously you always have some redundancy, but
Sure.
they were our majority manufacturer. So our proteins, our BCAAs, our creatines, our pre-workouts have been coming through them, and with their guidance in some formulation regards over the years as well, because they're on the cutting edge and they're developing and they're smart. So it was a great relationship, and now it's like a career defining, wonderful relationship for us.
Awesome. Because I know there's been other success stories like Gaspari, and I know there's some others as well, kind of maybe similar, dissimilar situations, but kind of rose from the ashes and are back on track. And hopefully same for you guys.
Well, one thing, and we'll definitely want to talk about this, the supplement market, it's an interesting thing because it is a constantly revolving clientele set. And although you and I are probably older than most supplement consumers, you really are talking about that wheelhouse of 18 to 24-year-old males who come into the space and kind of mature through the space. And Sean, one thing that separates you and I, we managed to grow up a little bit and still stay in the gym, right? I mean, think of all our friends from our high schools and our 20s.
Sure.
Just, everybody was in great shape then, but they didn't, life or golf or their career or their health, they can't stay with it into their 30s, 40s, 50s. You and I are an exception. But for the customer base, it means they're ever revolving. So, you have to keep talking to the new customers as they come in and finding their likes and dislikes and how to market to them.
Well, I laugh because Chris, I mean, we're both in our 50s here, and my parents, when they were in their 50s, they were sitting at the dinner table doing Sudoku. They would never think of a gym. They thought 50s, it's time to shut it down. But again, as I said, I want to be my 75s, my 80s, playing with my grandkids. I would love to have great grandkids. I know that's a stretch in today's times, but I want to be just as active in 20 more years.
Yeah, I mean that's the hope, right? And I mean, we see athletes in their 60s that look totally great nowadays. It's not uncommon,
Yep.
Especially for guys like us who know how to supplement and follow the space and pay attention to things. It can be done.
Definitely. So, Chris, I'm going to throw you on the spot here because you said that you were a supplement connoisseur, and I want to test you now. Okay. Metrics. Do you remember the original metrics, not formula, but what it was packaged?
The answer, what you're looking for, is metamycin, right?
Well, no, how it was packaged.
Oh, the original was 2 different containers that needed to be mixed together, right?
Yep. Okay.
Yep, I remember that. And then, of course, the meal replacement shakes in the packets is what put them on the map. But the first one was 2 different containers, a big one and a little one.
Okay, because a lot of people say they're a connoisseur, but they don't remember that. There was a base and a plus.
Yeah.
And supposedly, whether it was marketing hype or not, the ion charges could not play together until they were ready to be mixed and drank immediately.
Wow, you're awesome. Well, one of the things in my fitness story that's interesting for me is speaking of parents, my parents are a little older for someone our age. Like my mom was 40 when she had me and my dad was 44. Okay. And, I love my parents. It's not like I'm going to beat on them too much, but they were from the old school where bodybuilders were weirdos.
Yep.
And it was like a subversive underground culture. And they were so against my wanting to work out. And I'm sure everybody that you interview on the show, for some reason, guys like us, we just come into this world wired for it. Like when I was fucking 4 years old, I wanted to have muscles. I don't know what it is, but it just was in me, right? So in those very early days of supplementation, when I was still in my teens or living at home, I had to literally sneak my supplements into the house. Everyone else is out smoking weed and sneaking that around. I was sneaking in protein powder and trying to hide it. So a lot of the pre-metrics age, I wasn't able, what was the kid? Cybergenics.
Oh yeah, with the kit, the Frank Santorello. Yep.
Yep, remember that? Like if I ever had that kit, my mom's head would have exploded. So a lot of that pre-metrics, cybergenics age stuff, I just wasn't able to get at because it was so taboo in my house.
So growing up, because let's do a little biography here. So growing up, were you an athlete?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Look, like a lot of people in our sport, I definitely was an athlete, and I played. So as a little kid, I had a lot of energy. I was one of those guys. Wound up doing a lot of swimming. I was like a big swimmer, and I still am. I love the water. It's part of the great thing about living in Florida. Then in my high school years, I throw like a girl. Only girls probably throw better than me. So baseball was not in the cards, and I was a littler guy, so football wasn't in the cards. I started playing lacrosse, which actually was a lifesaver for me because my parents switched me from the public schools to a private school in 7th grade. And, middle school kids aren't the easiest. So I was kind of just like I don't know, misfit for a year or two in my middle school years. But then I found lacrosse in my high school years and I loved it. And honestly, it was a door opener for me. I made friends. I became part of a team. I integrated into the school, became a very happy student. So I definitely have a huge affinity for team sports, but I was a little dude. So I was always in the weight room trying to, do whatever I could do to compete with the bigger guys.
Yep.
And I did always want muscles. And even as a kid, I always wanted to be a bodybuilder, right? And I actually got something funny for you here. Check this out. I didn't plan on bringing this up, but just talking about how you've always, how you always want it. I heard you talking about Rich Gaspari on Master Muscle. I mean, this is I brought these from my parents' house when I moved my mom out a couple years ago. This is January 1998.
Jeez.
I mean, look at this one. Muscular development when it's still at a staple holding it together.
Wait, was that Barry DeMay?
No, it's the guy from down here. What's his name?
Oh, okay. It looked like DeMay for a minute. Okay.
Man, what was this guy? Oh, John Defendis.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
So I just picked it up because even as a kid, this is where my mind was, right?
Yep. That's hilarious.
Yeah, always.
My wife had me purge all of them years ago. The only thing I kept was I have a full edition, everything in Muscle Media 2000. That was my Bible growing up.
Yeah. Awesome. And then I'm just going to keep going to my well over here.
Just take the camera, walk around the office.
I mean, if you ever thought you were learning.
Oh, I got one of those.
It was from this book, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
I read this and the other 5 of them cover to cover and thought that I was going to get an MBA in bodybuildingology, so much so that I still have them literally handy. That's just on the other side of my desk.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
hilarious.
Chris, what was the first supplement you used? Do you remember?
Yeah. So the first supplement that I ever used was protein. It was the designer whey when Next owned whey protein.
Yeah.
And I used to go to this little gym in Verona, New Jersey that Gerard Dente and his cousin owned before he started MHP.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how they got it, if there was a distributor or what back then, but they had some of that protein there. I bought that. And then my friend and I went in on a bag of Muscle Mass 4000 with Mike Matarazzo on it.
Okay.
Remember that one? The weird one? And we didn't have a blender. We mixed in a Cuisinart because that's what he had at his house. So it was the 80s.
All the young kids watching this can say, "What the hell is a Cuisinart?" It's a very high-tech blender.
And then then I'm sure you've heard me joke, but then creatine came out soon thereafter, and the world changed, and my love of supplements really excelled from there.
Okay.
But that era, you had the liquid aminos. Twin Lab had the Diet Fuel and the Diet Fuel bars.
Yep.
You had the big race between Metrics, Myoplex, and Metaform. It was
I forgot the Metaform. That was a Wiener brand. I forgot about that.
You remember that protein bar they made that was literally just a piece of plastic when you opened it? It was
EAS or which one?
The Metaform protein.
I don't think I ever had that one. I was a big EAS guy. So again, when they came out with a bar, I was like the tried and true of EAS.
Yeah, they had the phosphagen bar with creatine in it. Remember?
Yep.
So yeah, I could go forever, man. Those were great days.
So fast forward 2009, you joined BPI. Okay,
yes,
that's their first year in existence, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Footnote: the guy that started BPI had another supplement brand prior. named
Okay.
CMI Nutrition, which made a little bit of noise for a year or two. And I actually reached out to that company blindly because I wanted to do some demo work.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause back then there weren't brand ambassadors and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I had my real entrance into the industry, and I saw that you spoke with Thackeray a while back.
Yep. Good
Um,
guy.
yeah, I've met him a couple times. He's always been an absolute gentleman to me, and he comes off very intelligent in his posts and always encourages bodybuilders to make money outside of bodybuilding. So credit
Yep.
to him for that. But I don't know if you remember the product from the guys at ProSource, the myostatin inhibitor that had the bull.
Oh, yeah.
Big. So they had the 3-page spread. It was Thackeray on the 1 page, and then you open it up to a spread. And I was one of the guys in the spread.
Oh, interesting.
Along with a couple other good bodybuilders. There's a kid named Glenn Nolan who went on to start a coaching business in Jersey. And first time I saw him, he had a great physique. And Thackeray was the first one with the before and after. But I got pulled into being in that ad just because I was a Jersey guy, and that's where ProSource was.
Yep.
Then I parlayed that into some, promotional work, demo work, GNCs and vitamin shops, doing, handing out samples because that was really your entrance into the industry back then.
Sure.
Yep, which brought me to my friend who started BPI in his previous business, and then into BPI as it segued. So I was even like prior to employee number one. You know what I mean?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So was 1MR the first product you guys hit the shelves with? Because I feel like that came out with a bang, and I know I use that religiously.
Yeah. So 1MR was he actually launched, and I didn't have really, other than doing demo work and listening to him say crazy shit to me on the phone for hours every night, I didn't have too much input at that point in the business. He launched with a suite of products. There was a diet pill called RX6.
Okay.
What else do we have? 1MR was the big one. And I think he had another muscle builder of some sort that kind of got reworked real fast. But 1MR came out, and he was able to kind of negotiate a very strong partnership with Europa Sports, who at the time, when there was more mom and pop retail before like internet and Amazon fully kind of contracted onto specialty retail, they were a major player. So it was kind of like you could incubate a brand through GNC, like Cellucor did. Vitamin Shop, like many brands, including us, kind of did. But Europa was another great incubation channel, as was bodybuilding.com back in those days. So somewhere between hard work and a little bit of luck, the Europa thing took off. Not to mention that the OG 1MR formula had, more energy components crammed into it than anything else on the market. I mean, it was equal to 3 scoops of Jack 3D, which sent people to the moon. So, you get a good distribution partner and a great product, and the brand is born, real fast.
And I feel like that you guys entered the category right when the pre-workouts were actually just starting to hit off there. I mean, when people seem to forget, though, that really the first pre-workout was probably Ultimate Orange.
So did you know that Ultimate Orange was founded in 1982?
Someone had told me that, but I don't think it had ephedrine in it, like
no,
the
it
later
didn't.
versions.
I think it had other shit in it. It was a Dan Duchesne product.
Oh, enough said.
So who knows what was in it? But I traced the pre-workout market. Obviously, Ultimate Orange is this weird early outlier. You had the ABB drinks, which had a lot of energy in them in the mid 90s, but it was a different distribution method but then when MRI came out with the NO2 product with GNC, that was the arginine tablets. I don't know if you remember that one all that well. It was a GNC exclusive. It was just arginine tabs. You got a free book that talked about how pumped you were going to be.
Okay.
I think that kind of started. And then obviously I think Aspari and BSN took it to the next level when Super Pump and NO Explode. And, if you remember retail in those days, you would walk into a vitamin shop and there were 2 kiosks up front. One was loaded with Super Pump and one was loaded with NO Explode. And that era lasted like 3 years. And then the Ultra Concentrates, which 1MR was the number 2 product to Jack 3D is the number 1, kind of reshaped the game in the pre-workout space.
But did 1MR because DMA wasn't back. There was something in there. Or was it just straight like caffeine that was putting it over, or was there some stuff in there back then?
No, it was in like the DMA era, so it was
Okay,
formulated in the mold of all those. But I will say, and that was a great era. We changed the product a couple times over the years just to stay, where you need to be.
sure.
But that old formula did, it's funny because over the years, and the internet's full of haters, people are always like, oh man, when BPI changed that version 1MR, they changed. And I mean, one of the things that we're doing now is we relaunch, and I'm actually kind of debuting it here because other than a little tease on our Instagram, we didn't talk about it much, but we are going to do a limited release of a very close formula to that OG 1MR formula. And my goal is every person in a forum that ever said BPI changed, blah, blah, blah. My goal is to have them try this new formula and then make them say, wow, BPI is back, because we have a legitimate heavy hitter in our pre-workout lineup now for the first time in years with the 1MR OG formula. We're probably going to we haven't even really announced it yet. So this is the first time we're really talking about it here on your show. No, I appreciate the chance to talk about it because we're going to debut it at the Arnold in a couple of weeks. So OG 1MR formula, it's a limited release thing and it's fun. It's going to really bring some of the old magic back to the brand.
So when you say limited release, I mean, is it really going to be a limited release, or is it really let's test it, and if it really comes out gangbusters, then maybe drop another what's the word I'm looking for? Launch?
We'll see.
Okay. Because I hate that seems very popular right now to do limited edition, but then sometimes you spite your nose realizing, crap, this needs to become more mainstream or more readily available.
Well, look, so we do have a 1MR formula right now that's in Walmart. I mean, it's a great product. It's actually, in my opinion, it's the best value for the dollar on the Walmart shelf. I mean, it's got the old teacrine, caffeine combo. So it's got the extension of the energy. It's really a great product. And Dynamine too. So
let's be honest though, Chris, because I and maybe I'm wrong. This is just my observation, right or wrong. I think the people that buy their supplements in Walmart are a different demographic than the people that might go to like a true, supplement store or buy online directly from the website. Agree to disagree?
Worst answer you could give, both.
Okay.
So, one thing I love to talk about, one of the feathers in BPI's cap is we were actually the first real good third-party brand to go to Walmart and say, you should pick us up.
Okay.
And obviously we're doing real straight talk here. So like at the time, Walmart had Body Fortress and 6-Star, two true mass market brands. And to be honest with you, I mean, I bought their protein back in the day because I was cheap. I was happy to get a $20 2-pounder when other stores had $30 2-pounders, right?
Sure.
They were a little protein spiked back then. That doesn't happen anymore. Different era. But I personally went there and I had this little pie chart I made, and I showed the category manager at Walmart. I said, look, bodybuilding.com sells in their sports nutrition this much creatine, this much, of this. And this huge piece of the pie, which at the time was 16%, is something called pre-workouts. And you don't have any. I said, look, BPI's product is one of the top 3 pre-workouts, which we really were at the time. And I said, I'll tell you what, put it in here. It'll definitely bring some cachet to your shelf. And they did. And that was 2014. So fast forward to 10 years later, and their shelf is Dymatize, Sebum, Bucked Up, Cellucor, Civation. It went from one guy who was willing to like help them push their own product forward to the whole marketplace wanting to be there. To your point, though, there are different places for everyone to shop. I think, look, you're in the Northeast, so you're lucky that you have a lot of good grocery stores. Florida, for example, you have 3 grocery stores. You have Winn-Dixie, which isn't really like a great grocery store, and they're pretty small. You have Publix, which unless you make like $600,000 a year, you can't even afford to like use the salad bar. And you have Walmart. And the Walmart groceries are actually very good. Coming from the Northeast, I was always like, Walmart's so middle America. But, times change and your perspective changes. But if you're already there buying your chicken and stuff and you wander over to their supplement aisle, you're going to see very good brands. And you're also going to see everyday low price, which is great.
Okay.
Walmart does set their shelves annually. I'll let everyone know because it's fun to see how it works. if you're lucky, you can be selected to go and meet with them in like December.
Okay.
The following like March, April, they tell you who's doing what and whether you're in or you're out. Then they'll order your product in July and it'll go on shelf September 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole cycle repeats. So one of the challenges for them and brands is you only have one shot a year. And like, for example, I went to them when our keto stuff started taking off and I was like, hey, keto is going to be big and BPI is in on the keto space early. And they said, I don't know. And then Walmart had to wait like a whole year before they could get their keto stuff in, while GNC and Vitamin Shop were kind of moving through it fast. All right, that's enough. I'm sorry. I get
no, that's okay. So I just want to bring that up too, because I talk to a lot of supplement owners. The smaller guys have these big aspirations, and they say, I want to get into Walmart. I want to get into this. I want to get into that. And sometimes they don't realize. Like I hear horror stories of that. Sometimes it's 6-month pay, or if they don't sell within 6 months, they have to buy the product back. And people don't realize that yes, you want to get to Walmart, but it's not really a claim to fame getting in Walmart. Not to discount what you're saying.
Well, I don't mind saying this. I actually find Walmart to be one of the easier retailers to work with. They're not a brand killer and they don't pick your pocket, but they are lower margin, right? They want everyday low price and they're very smart. They will say, Chris, I looked at your product and it's $30 at GNC and $28 on Amazon. So I want to put it on for $26. And I need to make this much margin. So if you want to sell it to me for this price, we would take it. And if you don't, you don't. I actually love GNC corporately. Like I don't have anything bad to say about them. BPI was brand of the year, breakout brand of the year. I personally was awarded industry visionary in 2015 by GNC. So I love GNC, but I will say this. GNC, look, they have their own brands. They make their own products, right? They know your playbook. So to these smaller guys that you mentioned, my kind of old man or big brotherly wisdom is that's probably one of the first channels you'll be able to get to in the supplement world. And that's one of the more difficult to navigate. Look, they made Cyacor into a global phenomenon. So the reward, if you can reach success there, is unlimited. But there's also brands like, I don't know, pick one, Physogen, laying in a gutter somewhere that loaded in millions of dollars worth of products and sold their house a year later because they got beat up so bad. So that's kind of how I feel. I do love retail though. BPI has always been a big retail brand. I grew up in New Jersey, so I was in Vitamin Shop's backyard. Their corporate headquarters are in Secaucus, and their best stores are New York and New Jersey stores, really. So I'm a fan of retail. But, to what we were saying earlier, times are changing and people are going through other avenues to learn and purchase.
But I feel, though, that stores, brick and mortar, is starting to make a resurgence again. And I don't know if it was because COVID's finally behind us, because I know people want the ease of going to Amazon, ordering online, but I actually enjoy going into a store, browsing the shelves, seeing what's new and exciting, talking with people. And I think a lot more people are getting back into that interaction. They want to feel that, I don't know, just that interaction maybe.
No, totally. Look, and even take the big chains out, but the mom and pop stores, I spent my developmental years going into, not as a businessman, as a consumer, going into stores and literally saying what's new and what's cool. I did take some of the like pro hormones back when they came out.
Sure.
But, I remember going in there really being educated by a guy's long out of business, but a very good store owner in North Jersey. Like he was saying kind of molecularly, these how they are. And, it's like a carbon ring and one of the carbons might be missing or your body can reassign it, and like, whether they're giving you a sales pitch or they don't, you do get your education. And now with the internet, it's a little easier to go home and verify that. But I love shopping in stores. And then obviously the independent guys that don't have to wait a year to change their shelves, they're going to get the newest and most exciting and most cutting edge stuff. In New Jersey, we had Nutrition Zone was one of our big local retailers up in North Jersey. And I learned a lot, from those stores and going in there.
I used to run a Vitamin World, which was
you ran a Vitamin World, you said?
Yeah, I was a store manager. I was a store manager of a Vitamin World when I was in college. Yeah. I think they've died now because they were all in the outlet malls. I think most of them had died. But that was my segue as well. Kind of to really live there, be there, understanding everything.
Yeah, Vitamin World was a good little chain. I think they focused too much on private label, right? And
they had their own brands, and some of it. Yeah.
And private label needs to be price competitive. I mean, that, in my opinion, and I hope I'm not pissing off anyone that's still there, but like, you can't have a private label that costs more than your third party name brand. It's like, it's
Exactly.
supposed to be a cross sell, not an upsell, It's like,
Yep.
hey, I came in here for Jack 3D and you're telling me if I spend $15 more, I could get the same shit with your label on it? Like, no.
Yeah, it's usually the other way. Yeah, same ingredients, but since it's private, save yourself $5.
Yeah. But no, they were a good little chain for a while.
Yeah, and I enjoyed paid my tuition in school, and again, I love my time there. It was 2 years while I was in college. So
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, a lot of guys in roles like mine and other businesses came out of GNC, Vitamin World, and Vitamin Shop stores.
yep,
So,
yep.
out of the store, I mean, like literally, someone said, "Hey, kid, you seem to know what you're talking about. Why don't you become my outside rep?" Which led to this and led to that.
That's it. That's it. So
Yeah.
now we talked about 1MR, the resurgence of 1MR. What else? I know you've shared some stuff with me in an email, but let's talk about that a little bit. What else is kind of getting a facelift, a new life to it? What else can people look forward to with this whole new rebranding?
Great. Thank you for the question. So we are actually really excited. So BPI, internationally, we have a huge protein business. We don't do too much domestically because it's a little expensive to compete with the Dimetizes and Optimums here in the States. But we pump out tons and tons of protein powder international. In the Middle East, into Latin America, into Mexico, BPI's proteins are, considered right along with Dimetize and Optimum. So we are very excited to be launching a new level of protein domestically here in partnership with our, high-tech family. So we're going to be releasing a hydroxylate protein, which is,
nice.
Think of like an isolate protein where some of the amino acid bonds are pre-digested, if you will. So you absorb everything a lot faster. It's one of the quicker absorbing proteins. So for guys like us that actually like beat themselves up in the gym, this is the protein you want to take when you leave. So we'll be coming out with 2 sizes and 4 flavors of Hydro HD, hydroxylate protein.
Awesome.
This is all going to come out by the first week of March. We're also going to take BPI's legacy leadership in amino acids and launch an essential amino acid product, Best EAA.
And that's new, right? Because you guys have always had a BCAA, but never an EAA, correct?
No, we did have an EAA product. We're a little kind of early into the EAA space and then pulled out of it. But, between our Best BCAA product and its sister product, Best Aminos, which is our mass market version, BPI was actually at one point in time the #1 BCAA brand globally, beating Scivation.
Wow.
And speaking of the retailers, I mean, that's because we were in Walmart and they weren't, and we just had that velocity. And then just like we did with pre-workout, we kind of incubated this BCA space, and then in came other great brands. I'm not shitting on anybody. In came Scivation, in came, everybody, so now the BCAs are big. But I also see customers, just like in the protein space, everybody was just buying cheap whey. I mean, I was the guy buying protein spiked Body Fortress in 2005, right? Now we're all in isolates. We're all moving upstream. So just like in the BCA space, people are moving to the EAAs, a more robust amino acid complex. You're taking all the essential amino acids, meaning your body can't process them internally. You have to consume them. And then, of course, the BCAAs, the 3 branch chains, are in the essential category. So our EAA product, which I'm very proud of, it's a 10-gram serving of essential amino acids with a full efficacious dose of the 3 BCAAs. This dose, which is over 3.5 grams. Of leucine, isoleucine, and valine. So really well formulated product. And then it also has some electrolytes and coconut water powder in there because people like to take their aminos intra-workout. It's not a must, but that's just a popular consumption time. So that's in there. So anyway, quality protein, by the way, transparent label. Quality EAA product, transparent label. And then another legacy winner of ours that people started sleeping on, but we had a diet product called RoxyLean. RoxyLean was a #1 seller in every retail channel from 2010 till 2018, right? And it kind of faded out because we got big on keto, and our keto weight loss diet product we gave it that #1 spot. But RoxyLean hasn't had a brand refresh or a formulation touch in probably 9 years. So we're actually reformulating. This is really where a good R&D team shines. So with, the high-tech high-tech pharmaceutical R&D team, we have a Roxy Shred is the kind of updated name. You're always just like a car, you're trying to come up with the next exciting thing. So taking
Sure.
that RoxyLean legacy, Roxy Shred, and it's going to affect a lot of the things that you hear mentioned in pharmaceutical diet products. And I don't want to say the name that we're referring to, but everybody knows what the biggest pharmaceutical weight loss aid is right now. So via all natural channels, which are all laid out in a totally transparent label, the ability to affect glucose disposal agents and GLP-1 and your insulin sugar relation, herbally through great compounds, we're able to bring that into a diet pill, OTC, over the counter.
Awesome.
It's honestly, it's a very novel, meaning new and exciting. I know you know that, but not everybody puts the right context on the word novel. So a very novel approach to diet, and a great alternative to people that are, looking at pharmaceutical injections right now. Not to mention that being a supplement, you're looking at 1/20th the price of, a script. So I'm really excited for that product. I mean, the challenge in my space is there's a bigger education hurdle when you get into novel and new diet strategies. So we have to be patient. We have to let it incubate. And, sometimes that's tough, especially when you're under new ownership and trying to run 1,000,000 miles an hour. But the ability to compete in like the GL1P space, there's only 2 brands doing it. It's us and High Tech. So we're wonderfully positioned. And honestly, it's such a great space. So 4 new products. We also have a really great test booster, kind of like right in the wings behind it. So it'll really be 5 awesome products, like redefining the brand and kind of the transparent label thing, letting people see exactly what they're up to. And then, Sean, the challenge is what we started with. How do we come back to these, 18 to 24-year-old males and re-ingratiate our brand with them? Back in the heyday, the thing to do was just have every kid at a GNC counter talking about BPI. Nowadays it's a little bit more through a direct-to-consumer model. You have to leverage your website and your social. So we have a lot of great strategies for that, and to bring the education to it.
So, Chris, with the Hydro HD, are you still keeping, or do you still have? Do you have an ISO in the line too? Because I remember using an ISO, like religiously using an ISO back in the day.
So BPI actually has 3 proteins currently, and the Hydro will be the 4th. We have a standard whey blend called Whey HD.
Okay.
The computer camera is weird. I keep moving to the side. I want my count to be in, and it goes out of the screen. So we have a Whey HD. We have a protein blend that in some international markets competes with like a gold standard. That's called Best Protein.
Okay.
We have isolate called ISO HD, which globally is our best seller. I mean, we move through tens of thousands of 5-pound units of just chocolate ISO HD a month. And now the hydroxylate space. And I'm kind of hoping to leverage this hydroxylate space for domestic protein growth. I'm not necessarily, listen, I want everyone to use my proteins, but I'm not dying to compete my ISO HD against ISO 100 and start throwing punches in that space domestically. But this hydroxylate space is like pretty open. I'm a big believer in it because it digests easy. I mean, I've been using it for a while. It digests super easily. I personally find a lot less bloat, mixes better. I mean, it's wonderful. And again, like what I keep stressing is, if you're beating yourself up in the gym, you want to get your protein digested as quick as possible. That's why, you don't leave the gym and gnaw on a steak that's going to take you 8 hours to break down. That's when people take some raw aminos or a quick digesting powder. So Hydro can really control that space, and we're going to bring value and great taste with that quality. It's a really fertile ground for BPI to develop into, and it can bring, new consumers to the brand and re-ingratiate us with, the gym bros of today.
I feel that's one of the, I don't know if it's considered a category under protein hydroxylate, that there's not a lot of companies that do that. But like you said, though, I love it myself because I think, is it Optimum?
Yeah, they had that Hydro Whey back in the day.
Yeah, because not a lot of people have it. I mean, I'm a big ISO guy because, again, for quick absorption. But hydroxylate, I think not a lot of people know about it or have it available.
Well, I think as a raw material, it's more expensive. So that's kind of a challenge.
Okay.
And then a couple thoughts on that. And, I love this stuff too much if I'm just being too supplement nerdy.
Geeking out.
Right. A lot of brands have a stronghold in a certain protein. Like I'm not on the board at Dymatize, but like, for example, they have a great ISO 100 business. Like, maybe you don't want to fuck with that. You know what I mean? Gold standard from Optimum, they got a great business. Maybe they're not looking to watch customers leave for another segment. That's why for us, seeing a lot of our protein business international, this is a great opportunity for the brand because it's new terrain. So that might be why the big domestic protein brands aren't as rooted in it. Plus, it is a more expensive raw material and it's not as common in the marketplace. It's really one of those things. Again, I can't keep saying enough great stuff about them, but when you're partnered, when you're vertically integrated into a really strong manufacturer, it's one of the doors that get opened.
Chris, you're a very honest guy, so I'll put you on the spot here. What are your thoughts on the resurgence of clear protein? I'll tell you mine, but let me hear yours first.
So I haven't done a deep dive on clear protein because I've never wanted to manufacture it. I have used some clear protein because I use everything. I mean, honestly, I spend more on supplements than a guy who gets free supplements ever should, right?
For you, it's research. It's research for yourself.
I mean, from what I understand, it's, look, whey protein powder is broken down and it's relatively flavorless until it goes out to be flavored. And if you want to do a refinement process to get it clarified and then flavor it with fruit punch instead of chocolate, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I personally would use these. I just happen to like, maybe because I'm old school, like a chocolate or vanilla protein shake. That's just where my head's at. Even like, what was that brand that made like the pineapple flavored protein and all that stuff back in the day?
I don't think I know if it was Isopure. They used to come in the glass containers.
Isopure. Yeah, I mean, I would use that. I mean, personally, I don't think it's a bad space. I mean, I know you're probably ahead of me in the science side. What do you think? I'm curious.
It's so hard to tell because I feel like lately some of the products that were big in our day, like going back 20 years, are starting to see a resurgence. But I don't know if it's because there's more science going into it or just that some people are running out of ideas. Like HMB is starting to pop up again.
Don't get me started on HMB.
HMB was big in the 90s. Bill Phillips put it on the map. It died. And now everybody's starting to resurge. Like some company I just saw on Price Plow is doing creatine and HMB. And I'm like, yeah, it was called Betagen back in the day.
Yeah, I took that in 95 and my bench went up 10 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. But with clear, I don't know if it's a trend. I think I like it. I think it's good. It foams. I wish some of the scientists out there, the Joey Savages of the world, would figure out how to get rid of that foam.
I mean,
but I don't know if it's a trend.
Well, even like the old Isopure glass bottles, which were delicious, they still had that like
little bit of slickness to it.
The last mouthful.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously, when you put a powder in a blender, you're not going to get that. But I'm not against them. I will say it's not a space that I'm looking to run into.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just a traditionalist, but we do have 2 new flavors coming out in the Hydro line of Fruity Loopers. I don't want to step on any trademarks.
Of course.
And a cinnamon cereal milk flavored.
Nice.
Because those are popular and people like them. And again, as a shake, they're still good.
Yes.
So we'll have chocolate vanilla in those 2 flavors at the launch.
And I think for us, the old folks, respectively, it's kind of the nostalgia. Like when I have some of these cereal ones and whatnot, like I had one that tastes like Apple Jacks. I was a big Apple Jacks kid growing up, and it brings back the nostalgia. And then for the newer, younger kids, it's something different than the standard chocolate and vanilla.
Well, like, do you think that kids nowadays like just love sweetness like nothing else? I mean, the energy drinks, the proteins, the pre-workouts. Everything is super sour candy. I mean, is it a millennial palate that we need to take into consideration?
Well, we can open up a whole nother topic with this is when we grew up, okay, I laughed at everything was flavored chocolate and vanilla, which was really gasoline and ass flavored in my mind.
Yeah, dog shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And fast forward now, when people talk about pre-workouts, generally the first thing out of their mind is, dude, this tastes phenomenal. It's not, I got a great pump. My focus, it's always taste first.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you don't understand. Taste should be secondary. It's what the product is doing. And I hear some of these young kids that they're sipping on their pre-workouts. I'm like, what do you sip on? I mean, it's a whole other topic you'll get me off on.
Right. No, totally. Well, look, if you look at, the drink market, which is kind of an extension of the pre-workout market, I mean, Celsius, for example, 400 different flavors, one sweeter than the next. You
Yep.
know, Bang, what they were able to do in the market they built, it was just indulgently sweet flavor after
Yep.
indulgently sweet flavor, and the consumers lined up to get the next one. You know, and you didn't even need to give it a name. I mean, Magic Unicorn. But
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in. You know.
But I think that's one of the categories though that you do get a pass. You have to have a good flavor, but again, for me, it's a bonus because again, when you use, I mean, you've been doing this long enough. When you have some of the harsher ingredients like lion's mane, I love lion's mane, but I don't expect a pre-workout with 1,000 milligrams of lion's mane to taste good. But again, that's my knowledge. That's what I expect out of it.
Right. And it's honestly, I think you're right. It is a more educated consumer would have that understanding and be willing to sacrifice a little bit of one for the other.
Yep.
What,
Yeah.
So look, I love HMB. I actually started taking it. We actually even have I didn't even mention it, but in the hydro, we have a leucine derivative, similar kind of concept, you know, leucine down the line to aid in the protein absorption.
Okay.
We'll have that's actually even a value add in the hydro HD.
Oh, nice.
But going back to that era, what was your like sleeper favorite over the? I mean, I think the supplements market started in 1992, right? It didn't really start till Metrics and Next kind of hit it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, the weeder shit in the 80s, you know, it was all, you know, bullshit products, except for the beef liver tablets. But they were only good because they had creatine in them. Because that's where your body stores a ton of creatine. So who knew? What was your favorite back in the day product?
Oh God. So living in New York, I was a Twin Lab guy because everywhere you go, Twin Lab was on the shelves.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the first things I did was they had the horse amino tablets, so like amino 1600s.
Yeah.
And they were literally like probably 6 inches long. That was probably my first entrance. And then like many people, I was the 138 pound, 5'8", like ripped to shreds, but had no fat on me. So I did the Twin Labs, that a Twin Labs 2,500 calorie weight gainer.
Gainer fuel.
No, that was almost like a carb thing, but this was actually a weight gainer.
Okay.
And it was 2,500 calories, like 5 scoops. So I would do that, whole milk, banana, peanut butter, and I'd probably be up to 4,000 calories. Take those 2 a days. Started putting on weight, but then after that, then I jumped on. Lee Haney had his own line.
Yep, I remember.
So I started using his products. I had the VHS tape, and then just and then EAS was like my flagship from 92. EAS and Metrics from 92 to like 99, I guess.
Yeah, I was. You know, I actually wasn't a huge EAS fan because it was a little like it was a premium price point, and I just wasn't able to be in that market, so I didn't get onto the bandwagon that hard. But what EAS did, and not just Bill Phillips, but all the other guys who were at EAS at the time, including the guy that went on to launch the arginine product. You know, I mean, like, you know, these dudes redefined the market, and I mean, the magazine, you know, that 360 approach.
Oh, sure.
A lot of credit to them. I mean, it was, you know, it was an amazing era, and they brought to market a lot of really good products.
And when I competed in the 90s, I lived off Metrics and Rip Fuel. Rip Fuel was my product of products with the ephedrine in it. That's what I lived off.
Yeah, Rip Fuel was the shit back in the day for sure.
Yep.
Where did you compete? Up in Boston or where?
No, I was in Florida. So I did local shows in Florida down in Miami.
Right on. You were a smaller guy. You said you were.
Yeah, no, I was a lightweight, but 5'8", I should have been at least middle or bigger. And I was doing this all natural. You know, I had a coach that was helping me a little bit. But again, I was 22 years old, trying to eat well. I mean, me eating well was yogurt and pretzels, but I still came in at 3-4% body fat.
Right, because you're just a naturally ripped guy.
Yeah. Fast forward now, a little bit fluffier, but that's okay.
Well, when you do your roundtable about coaches with an eye roll, bring me back on that show because I can throw my 2 cents in. Funny to hear you mention that you had a coach back in the day.
You want to go head to head with Falk?
No, he's a good coach. Maybe the 400,000 people under his level, we could throw some punches at.
So, Chris, we talked about all the products that are coming back. Is there anything leaving the line to let people know of? You know, stock up now because it's going out.
Yeah, not really. I mean, an interesting thing about the life cycle of a supplement brand is your international markets kind of are laggards to your domestic market. Okay. So there's still some things we'll be making over there because they're registered and they just got their people on them.
Yep.
But the BPI lineup outside of the new items, we do great with creatine. We have a formulated best creatine product. We also sell a very economical creatine monohydrate
Okay.
on our Amazon page. That thing, I mean, I probably lose money selling it because it's so aggressively priced. So if anyone needs mono, go there. It's like 600 grams for like $20. Great deal. We have a great diet powder, CLA and carnitine.
Okay.
Great origin story behind it, but it's irrelevant now. But it's a great product. Still
Okay.
with the BCAAs, and we still do well with the keto market's not what it once was, but we were an early entrant, and we were one of the sports brands to kind of bring sports consumers to keto. And keep your eye on the BHB salts. They're gonna get in the rotation of coming
Okay.
around, going around, because there are a lot of sports applications for them as well.
Yep.
I think something funny happened with the patent on the BHB salts. A new company acquired the patent, and they were just fucking with everyone on Amazon. If you had a listing, they were filing with Amazon a complaint that Amazon was honoring. So a couple people got kicked off.
Was it Ron Kramer, was it?
No, although.
Okay, next subject.
I will say this: I've sat in federal court across the room from Ron Kramer. So I've done.
Yeah, you want to be on his good side. I know I've heard some of the horror stories with some of my other buddies in the industry.
So, but you don't have to be scared of it. But anyway, let's not go down that road.
Yeah.
But I've been through a lot of trenches in this game. I'll tell you that.
So let's wrap up. I know you guys have a shit ton of ambassadors and who's who out there. I know you got Kunal and obviously Michael Hearn and Billy Gunn. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I know Billy Gunn. You have, was it Melly Mel, or I know big rapper from
No. You're thinking of Method Man from Wu-Tang.
Method Man.
Yep. So
Okay.
one thing I didn't do, and I got to throw a quick mention. The other guy who runs BPI, Whitney Reed is his name. This kid, he's not a kid. He is awesome. He's brilliant and hardworking and knows supplements more than anyone. He was actually kind of got his start as one of the original content creators on bodybuilding.com in 2008. And he parlayed that into, tremendous success in the industry. His network is, he's a little bit more social than I am. His network's brought him in touch with a lot of people. Like, for example, Method Man came to him through a friend, and Method Man has a whole page with 80,000 followers about his fitness to Cal Athletics. Yep. So take rap and put it aside. This guy can deadlift 400 for 10. He can bench press 315 for 5. I mean, he's a beast in the gym. And he said, I'd love to get some products. So collaboration, revenue share model, he can market it. Did the same thing with Mike. And Mike is honestly a brilliant guy and a great dude. And his wife, Mona, is honestly a very smart, wonderful woman. They're great people, family people. We got his products into Walmart. I mean, we took them all the way to the top of the chain. And we're going to do a relaunch with Mike in the very near future. So that'll be exciting. Nice. Yeah, him and the high tech team have, touched base, and there was a spark of romance, if you will. So we'll see where that goes. Billy Gunn, Dan Housen, from the wrestling world.
I was very surprised to see Danhausen, because he's someone he's an interesting guy.
So him and Billy are good friends. And he cut a demo for our pre-workout collab with Billy. Just from out of nowhere, Dan Housen gets it, and he says, "Hey, when I bench press, I use this, and it's great." And it was like our best video in like years.
Yep.
So we said, "Hey, Dan, if you got this reach, let's do something." And to that guy's credit, he sold a bunch of product. He was really cool. Kamal, of course, one of, I think, only 3 people to have different Mr. Olympia titles. You got Dexter, Kamal, and now Derek winning the Open and the 212. So pretty elite quality. And Whitney's wife, India Polino, Arnold Classic bikini champion, perennial Olympian. Yeah, she is our female spokesman. And then we have some great younger athletes trying to work with, the TikTok side of things. A kid named Chris Harris, who, when this kid decides it's time for him to go for it, he'll be on an IFBB stage. We just started working with a local trainer named Shadia. She's got a couple 100,000, and this girl's physique she's put together. I mean, wonderful, so, and great content. And we are, I should add a quick plug. We're always working on our ambassador program too. So anybody that's interested, just DM the BPI Sports official Instagram page, and we'll be getting back to you there, because we're always looking to pick up athletes.
Awesome. And did you say too, it's been a while since you've done the Arnold? Since you're
We
kind of
haven't
researching
been,
Dr. Arnold?
yeah, I mean, we haven't been on the trade show circuit per se. Just
Okay.
between COVID and the tribulations of the business. So we're back there in 2 weeks. Can't wait. Actually, my friend Lloyd is one of the main guys on the Arnold team. He promotes the Meet the Champions. Lloyd Davis, great dude. He lives down here in Florida, like sincere personal friend of mine. So we're very excited to get back there, debut the new products, get them in front of consumers, get them in front of guys like you. Got the Dubai Muscle Show. We'll be at the Olympia, of course. And then with our local NPC organization mostly through Tim Gardner, because he's kind of got the reins in his hand down here, but even the other local promoters like Rich and Maria and Serge, these great people. We're very active in our local community. And then we didn't even talk about this one, and I know we're tight on time, but being a natty guy.
Keep talking.
Being a natty guy, we support shitloads of natural bodybuilding shows, and I've been doing it for 15 years. I mean, we've sent samples to shows with 8 natural competitors in it, from the lowest levels of bodybuilding to the Olympia stage. BPI has been, there as a friend to promoters and athletes over the years, and that will not be changing.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm personally excited for the Arnold. It's been, last time I was there was 19, and it lost a lot of luster with COVID, and people are going to hate me for this, but I think it lost a lot of luster when Arnold said, screw your freedoms, wear a mask, and he kind of pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, that was a really weird year. Totally. I mean,
it was. And I think this year it's going to be great because my friend Shane from Stacked has his own wing now, bringing a lot of brand new brands. You've got legacy brands like yourself that's going to be there. I think it's going to be a great event. I really think it is.
No, it really is. And Shane's doing something really cool. He's got like his pavilion of kind of incubation pavilion. I mean, yeah, it's going to be, and listen, Stack's been awesome for us over the years. Great people. No, it's going to be a great show. And I mean, it's funny. I think this is one of the first years where the industry side might be more exciting than the bodybuilding side. I mean, I'm psyched to see Samson come out and see what Hottie brings to the stage. But I'm even more psyched to just see what's going on in the industry and see everyone out there. So I've been, with the exception of the COVID year or two, I've been every year since 2007 to the Arnold.
Okay.
So
interesting. Yeah. So Chris, as we wind down, I'll put you on the spot here. Give me your top 3 for the Arnold Open bodybuilding.
Well, I think Samson's gonna win it. I think he's going to just basically turn into Kai Green. I mean, the pictures today on TikTok, on Instagram, I'm sure you saw him. I mean, geez, those striations. Then probably Hottie.
Okay.
And I don't mind. I mean, I don't know him. I don't like his physique that much. Like, I feel guilty not rooting for him more because everyone loves him. But I've been so honest. I'm going to keep it up. A little too much oil, a little too thick in the waist.
Okay.
When he lifts his arms up, like, his biceps don't move. I don't like that. It doesn't give me what I want from a physique. So it's hard for me. Look, dude, the guy comes in peeled and he's giant, but like, he doesn't hit the nail on the head that I would like to see if I was a judge, but he is undeniable.
Okay.
And
Give me number 3.
What's that?
Give me number 3. If you know the lineup.
I do know the lineup, but I don't know who I would go any deeper than that. I think it's going to be a 2-man race there. Who's your number 3?
So I'm going with James Hollingshead.
Listen, I've never seen that dude in person. I've never been to but his social media, I mean, huge and great physique. Yeah.
He's working with Milos, and you always hear sometimes they judge on the day of the show, but sometimes they judge on your previous show. They take that into place. And if he's judged on his last outing, it's like night and day. He's made the most improvements out of everybody. But yes, it's a 2-legged show. It's Samson and Hottie. Yeah. Hottie goes from the back. I think Samson goes from the front. But it's really going to come down to all the other parts, the triceps and the side chest and everything else. It's going to be an interesting race.
Yeah, I'll tell you, being down here in South Florida, I see him around a lot. But De La Rosa, don't sleep on that kid. His every time I see him, I'm reminded that he has great symmetry. Like, you don't think of him as a symmetry guy, but when you see him pose, his waist is fucking tiny and his chest is giant and his quads flare out. I mean, he might be, and he's a veteran guy. It's hard for a veteran to surprise anyone, just like it's hard for a supplement company to turn around after 16 years, but people are doing it. So maybe he'll hit that nail on the head.
Chris, living in Southern Florida, you ever heard of a trainer, Dodd Romero? He's a trainer of the Stars.
I wish I did, but I haven't.
Okay. All right. Because he was my coach back in the 90s, but he basically trains J-Lo and professional wrestlers. He's in like Miami or
Oh, wow.
State Central. Yeah, he was a big guy back in the day. Either you know him or you don't, but he's
Say the
very
name one
well
more
known.
time so I can keep an ear out for it.
Dodd with a D. Dodd Romero.
I guarantee that tomorrow he'll come up somehow, and I'll see who it is. That's cool.
Yeah, he has his own company, Bod by Dodd. But again, his big thing is Lenny Kravitz. He goes on tour with Lenny Kravitz. He's like Lenny Kravitz's personal trainer, food nutritionist, everything.
Wow, one of my favorite artists, being a 90s guy.
Yeah.
A lot of bong hits in my college years listening to Lenny Kravitz music,
And you went to a college that I didn't think was that much of a party school.
Or am I wrong? Smoking weed in our dorms. There's nothing else to do.
Oh, God.
Gettysburg College. Not a bad little school, but it's not like going to NYU or anything. Yeah.
Chris, as we wind down, it's been a great conversation. Is there anything else maybe we haven't touched? I know we've been all over the world here. Anything else that maybe we haven't told the listeners, the fans, anything whatsoever?
No, I appreciate it. I mean, honestly, the one thing that I would say is just for everybody in this age of social media, consume as much as you want, as much as you can, right? There is no bad information, but there is wrong information.
Yep.
But people have their opinions. I mean, we're watching 19-year-old kids tell us how to work out. Listen to it all. But one thing I urge you is, look, there are a lot of, not necessarily BPI, but there's a lot of time-tested people, a lot of time-tested brands. Yep. Just because someone isn't the latest sensation or an overnight sensation or a 20-year-old kid who weighs 280 pounds and don't disregard that. Really take into effect tenure and legacy and consume a lot of that, because it's great. And there's a lot of, there's so much out there. I just hope that, again, this cycle of new consumers, like, I've talked like this before, like if you're an NFL fan, who won the Super Bowl in what year, and you remember, the Steelers from the 80s, like you remember these old, but in our sport, you don't remember shit, like tune into some of these kids, we talk about metrics and EAS. They didn't even know. No one even knows what Jack 3D is sometimes. And the fucking world stopped when that stuff came out, so take a little time to learn. And as we were saying a couple of times, everything's cyclical. So chances are something new coming around might've been around before. And, if you know your history, you'll understand a little bit better. That's really kind of my parting thought. And I do want to say this to you. I said it before. Between this and your bodybuilding angle on the Master's Muscle, you were doing a great job.
Thank you.
I'm along the lines of what I was just saying. It's great that the media that we have at our disposal now affords shows like yours where you can just have some fun and talk to people. I think it's been a pleasure. You do a great job, and I'm just grateful that you gave us a shot to let me get my story out to everybody.
I appreciate that, Chris. As I tell people, this started as a hobby. It's kind of like my therapy. 1 or 2 nights a week, I get to meet new friends, get on with old friends, learn some stuff. We laugh, talk about how old we were and the products we did back in the day. But again, I have a new friend here, and I look forward to meeting you in person in a couple of weeks, less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, a week from Thursday. Crazy. I just booked my plane fare, so I was a little late on that, but I still don't worry. I still got a good rate. I didn't get gouged. So
did you get gouged on a hotel?
No, we get the room block because we're a sponsor. So
okay.
In on that early, yeah.
Perfect. Well, Chris, where can everybody learn about you? Plug the website. Anything else people want to contact you?
Yeah, awesome. So I try to make my Instagram account pretty active. It's Chris Mack _365. 365 is my best bench ever. So just to prove that I am a true meathead, Chris Mack _365. BPI Sports _official is our new Instagram page. High Tech Pharma is the parent Instagram page. We actually rolled our former IG page into theirs. So they have like a nice, awesome. Almost about 500,000 follower page now that we're on there as well. And then obviously our other socials, we still have a big YouTube presence and such. So we're around. And I think if you're ever looking for deals, our website always has some promo going on. So bpisports.com. There's always something happening. And today's obviously President's Day. So, we're just like a furniture store.
Chris, will there be anybody for any of your ambassadors, athletes, any of the people in your cosm? Will they be at the booth at all?
So we're doing more of a business booth this year with the new products. We're not dragging Kamal or India out this year.
Okay.
Because it'll be Whitney and I trying to rekindle business relationships for the majority of
Awesome.
the time out there. But definitely come by. People can see the new products, do some some sampling and get a feel for everything. And we do have, there will be people in the booth, but we're not doing. And look, I have like a chip on my shoulder because BPI is the brand, and again, we're the brand that brought Hulk Hogan to the show. We're the brand that brought Sylvester Stallone to the show. We're the brand that had Jay Cutler, for 4 years in our booth.
Right.
So, yeah, it's almost hard to. It's a different scale when you've done that. I mean, our booth one year was 120 by 40. I mean,
wow. Okay.
Think of the size of that booth. And I personally manned every fucking inch of that thing. I mean, it was like insane, So, yeah, I'm actually happy for a more controllable environment and more of a business focus this year. And then probably the Olympia will be a more consumer event because we'll be launched in, more of the old like trick or treat sample pack and meet the athletes type thing.
And I think that's where things have changed a little bit too, is you got the informed people like me to want to come by, learn, and just kind of engage. But then unfortunately, you put the negative spin. You got people where they think it's Halloween, they come with their bag, you don't have anything. Okay, great, move on.
And dude, let me tell you, it is expensive. I mean, people don't realize that those sample packs are 25 cents a piece, unless it's protein, then you're at $1 a piece.
Well, that's because you're a big brand, but a smaller brand could be $1.50 a sample.
Oh man. And you're going to give out legit, you ready? 70,000 of them.
Yep.
100,000. I mean, and you pay for your booth and you have to fly a team of 6 out there. It is a big endeavor. It's tough.
It is.
I hope that the people there, this is like the industry side, but I hope that you recognize for a moment the expense and devotion that the brands need to do what we do there. Because there is no immediate ROI on trade shows. It's not like an ECRM event where you come home with a pipeline of sales leads. So it's a lot. I hope consumers appreciate it. I mean, for us, we appreciate the chance to mingle with the consumers and hear and learn. Yep.
And Chris, make sure you bring your biofreeze in your belt because I got to plug a little bit. The animal cage is back. There could be all sorts of benching. I don't know if you want to get involved.
Oh man, no, I love Animal. I mean, listen, I was friends with Eric for all the years when he did it there. Animal is a great brand.
Eric Schwartz or Eric who?
Yeah, no, Eric Schwartz, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, Eric's a good friend of mine. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I watched everything he did and the brand did. It is exciting. So you're going to be in the Animal booth?
I'll be in the Apollon booth.
Oh, Apollon booth, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm friendly with Rob too. I haven't talked to him in a while, but being a Jersey guy, I mean, I think I'd no joke, one of my best deadlift days of my life at Apollon gym in the middle of a snowstorm. I used to have a construction business and I was in the area and I said, fuck man, I better get this workout in because I'm going to be snowed in for 2 days.
Yep.
And I pulled 515 for 4 reps, which is not going to light the world on fire. But for me, that was a really big day. And literally it was dude, it was literally I think I have a belt in my car and the snow's piling up. Let me just run in here. So yeah. I love Apollon. Great spot. And his brand's on fire, man.
Yeah. No, the brand is out surpassed the gym itself. And I wish nothing but the best for him. But Chris, just like yourself, I wish nothing but the best for you. As I mentioned, I look forward to meeting you in a week and a half.
Can't wait, man.
For anybody listening, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Stop by the BPI booth. Stop by the Apollon booth. Come over, say hello. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of the week.
Appreciate it.